Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel Global Times USA. Please subscribe and like my videos because today we are bringing you one of the most shocking updates in the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war. What we are discussing today is not just an ordinary clash on the battlefield, but an event that has shaken the world. The massive bridge explosion that Ukraine launched as a bold and calculated strike against Russia. This event is being talked about across every continent, across every news network, and across every government office, because it is not just about the destruction of a bridge, but about the symbolism, the strategy, and the escalation of war to one of its deadliest points yet. This bridge, standing as a symbol of Russia's control and its connectivity to crucial occupied territories, has now turned into a broken reminder of vulnerability. Ukraine's attack on this bridge is more than an explosion, it is a message. A message that Ukraine is not backing down, that its military is willing to hit at the very heart of Russia's logistical supply lines. For Russia, this is an embarrassment, a painful reminder that even its strongest fortifications and its most prized assets can be brought down in flames. And for the world, this strike sends shockwaves because it brings the war to an even more dangerous threshold, where the consequences of escalation are unpredictable. When we look at the exterior of this attack, what stands out is the scale and precision. The bridge was massive, not just a symbolic target, but also a vital lifeline. It was designed to withstand heavy transport, carrying tanks, trucks, fuel, and weapons to the front lines. Ukraine's strike on this bridge was not random. It was meticulously planned, executed with a combination of intelligence gathering, advanced weaponry, and timing that magnified the damage. From the outside, this event appears as if David has once again stood up to Goliath. Ukraine, despite its smaller size compared to Russia's massive military machine, has struck deep and hard, shaking the confidence of its opponent. Moving to the interior, the story becomes even bigger. Inside Ukraine, the morale has surged. Citizens who have faced endless months of bombardment, fear, and uncertainty suddenly feel a renewed sense of strength. They see their military not only defending but striking back in ways that make the world take notice. Within Russia, however, the interior picture is very different. The Kremlin faces internal pressure, questions about its military's competence, and worries from citizens about the safety of critical infrastructure. Inside international politics, the strike has sparked heated debates. Western nations that have supported Ukraine see this as proof that their weapons, training, and intelligence sharing are paying off. NATO discussions intensify as leaders try to balance support for Ukraine with the risk of provoking a wider conflict. Meanwhile, countries that remain neutral or supportive of Russia are now weighing the risks of being tied to a power that can no longer protect its own symbolic structures. The interior dimension is vast, stretching from the homes of Ukrainian families celebrating quietly, to the halls of power in Moscow, where silence and anger fill the air, to the offices of European leaders analyzing what this explosion means for the stability of the continent. Performance is another aspect of this strike that the world cannot ignore. Ukraine's performance in the war has already surprised many analysts. From the early days when Russia's invasion seemed overwhelming, Ukraine has continually shown resilience, adaptability, and innovation. The destruction of this bridge is yet another testament to Ukraine's performance on the battlefield. Their ability to strike critical infrastructure with precision demonstrates not only bravery but technical skill. Performance here also refers to how Ukraine has managed to turn limited resources into maximum impact. Every attack is calculated to hurt Russia's logistics, morale, and image on the global stage. On the other hand, Russia's performance looks weaker in comparison. The inability to protect such a vital asset raises questions about its defensive systems and the competence of its military strategies. For a nation that projects itself as a superpower, such failures are magnified globally. Safety features in this context might sound unusual, but they are very relevant. In warfare, safety is not about avoiding all risks but about managing them effectively. Ukraine's strike on the bridge highlights how they prioritize the safety of their soldiers and their people by focusing on high-value targets rather than wasting resources on smaller, less significant objectives. The attack minimized Ukrainian exposure while maximizing Russian damage. On the civilian side, Ukraine continues to implement safety measures such as warning systems, evacuation protocols, and infrastructure reinforcement, even while under constant attack. Russia, in contrast, now faces a population that feels unsafe even in areas once considered secure. The bridge explosion demonstrates that no place is truly safe, and this sense of insecurity is spreading across the Russian population. The safety narrative here is powerful. Ukraine is taking control of risk, while Russia is losing its grip. Unique selling points of this strike lie in its symbolism, its execution, and its timing. Symbolically, this bridge was not just concrete and steel. It was a representation of Russian dominance, a physical link to occupied territories, and a propaganda tool. Destroying it sends a psychological blow to Russia that goes beyond the battlefield. In terms of execution, Ukraine proved it could hit high-profile targets with accuracy. This is not just a military achievement. It is also a demonstration to the world that Ukraine's forces are capable of strategic victories, not just defensive survival. As for timing, this strike comes at a moment when the war seemed to be grinding into a stalemate. The explosion reignites global attention, reshapes narratives, and pressures both sides to reconsider their strategies. When we talk about price, it is both literal and metaphorical. The literal price is the cost of the attack, the resources used, the weaponry deployed, the intelligence gathered, but the metaphorical price is much higher. For Ukraine, the price is the risk of further escalation, the possibility of harsher retaliation from Russia, and the burden of sustaining a war that continues to drain its people and economy. For Russia, the price is humiliation, logistical challenges, and the potential unraveling of its military narrative. For the world, the price is the danger of being drawn closer to a wider war, the economic consequences of instability, and the humanitarian cost of prolonged conflict. Every explosion, every destroyed bridge comes with a price tag that goes far beyond money. It is measured in lives, in fear, in politics, and in history. In conclusion, the massive bridge explosion that Ukraine launched against Russia is more than a military strike. It is a turning point, a moment that defines the resilience of Ukraine, the vulnerabilities of Russia, and the fragile balance of global security. This event proves that wars are not only fought with weapons, but with strategies, symbols, and stories that echo across the world. The bridge explosion has become one such story, a chapter that historians will mark as the moment when the war reached one of its deadliest points yet, and when the world realized that the path forward is more uncertain than ever. As we continue to monitor this conflict, one thing is clear. The shockwaves from this explosion are not ending anytime soon. They are just beginning.